Hello everyone, my name is Vigil, and welcome to my beginner's guide for Daemon X Machina. The game has something of a learning curve, and I thought I would try and smooth that out for you guys, seeing as I saw some negative press the game was getting. One reviewer in particular even compared his arsenal to a tractor because he couldn't figure out how to make it go faster. Upon reviewing this guy's footage, I saw that he was completely neglecting to use a pretty core mechanic in the game, and that inspired me to make this video. I hope it helps and I hope you enjoy it. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go into our hangar and go into the testing ground. I really like the way they handled the testing ground in here. They give you a bunch of different ways to test things out. Well, the first thing you're going to notice though is that my HUD looks different than yours. That's because the HUD in this game is completely customizable. You can move things around, shrink them, change the opacity and everything. So you'll find that setting under Options and HUD Settings. You can change the option for your Arsenal and your Outer, which is the name of your human pilot. I recommend at least just taking a quick look here to see how key information is displayed to you. I have mine laid out so my eyes don't have to travel as far for relevant information, and also to reduce on-screen clutter so I can see more of the battlefield. Okay, so real quick in our control settings, the only real thing of note here is the assist button function. It allows you to use a combination of buttons for inputs. I use the up directional button and A, B, X, and Y combined for my Femto armaments, which I'll get to in just a few minutes, as well as the Mirage system. So now let's take a look at stamina, boosting, and flight. The combat in this game is pretty fast-paced, and your primary means of damage mitigation comes from dodging using your boost. Your boost is a directional dash which requires the use of stamina to perform. If you find yourself out of stamina, you will be unable to boost and will be forced to move at normal running speed, which is very slow and you are almost guaranteed to take damage. If you do get caught out without stamina in a sticky situation, you can activate your Femto shield to absorb some of the damage. If you run out of stamina during flight, or fly too high, you will fall back to the ground. Falling to the ground and jumping triggers a landing recovery animation which roots you in place and leaves you a sitting duck for all kinds of unpleasant attacks. Fortunately for us, with some practice, this recovery animation can be cancelled or avoided, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. First, let me go ahead and get to the other side of the map so it takes the training room stry a little bit longer to find me. So now I will deactivate my thrusters, and you can see me trigger that recovery animation. The way to avoid this animation is to activate flight and boost at an angle almost parallel to the ground just before hitting. When done correctly, you will avoid the landing recovery animation and continue your momentum along the ground. Next on our list is the Femto armament system. Femto is a mysterious red energy source proliferated during the moonfall. Some humans in the Daemon X Machina universe are able to manipulate Femto and use it in combat. Your skills as an arsenal operator are directly reflected by how well you use this system. Just above my stamina bar, you can see the three icons for the Femto armaments. From left to right, they're the Femto Wing, Femto Assault, and Femto Shield. Each of these armaments has its own Femto Reserve, indicated by the white background behind the icon. If the reserve is depleted, you must wait a short time for it to recharge before activating that armament again. Let's start with the Femto Shield. Once activated, the Femto Shield will block incoming damage until depleted or deactivated. The shield has 3 sizes depending on how full its reserve is. Before the shield will recharge, you must avoid all damage for 5 seconds. The Femto Shield can be used while boosting and while flying. However, it is useful to note that the shield is deactivated by taking a combat action such as firing a weapon, or by activating auxiliary equipment, including non-combat equipment such as the down booster. As a result of this limitation, I highly recommend avoiding all weapons with the auto-fire perk. Ideal uses for the Femto shield include reviving fallen allies, waiting on a depleted stamina bar to recharge, and trying to pick up a healing truck before flying away to a safer location. Next up, we have the Femto wing armament. Activating the Femto wing armament will allow you to boost at a faster speed without draining any of your stamina. The trade-off here is that it will lower your defense. As with the Femto shield, firing a weapon or using auxiliary equipment will disable the wing. Beyond its more obvious uses, you can use the Femto wing armament to execute a move I've taken to calling the Femto dash, which can allow you to cross a battlefield quickly in order to revive a fallen ally or reach an out-of-the-way healing truck. To execute the Femto dash, first boost until your stamina is almost empty. Then quickly activate the Femto wing while continuing your boost. You'll notice that your stamina bar will recharge while boosting. Once the armament's reserves are depleted, you will then be able to continue boosting with a full stamina bar. Using this technique can greatly increase the efficacy of your battlefield mobility. Next, we have the Femto Assault armament. Femto Assault increases your damage but causes you to take more damage in return. It can be used while boosting and while flying, and you can of course fire and use auxiliary equipment without breaking the stance. Finally, we arrive at Mirage. Mirage is not technically a Femto armament. However, I have classified it as such due to the fact that it uses Femto, is colored red, and locks you out of using the other stances for the time that it is active. Once activated, Mirage will create a copy of your arsenal which will fight alongside you, increasing your damage and also serving as a decoy. Using this ability will begin to drain your Femto gauge. Femto is used to revive allies, fire laser weaponry, and use the Mirage ability. In addition to this, your Femto meter has 3 fill marks representing the level of Femto you have. As it is depleted, you will notice that these directly correspond to how much Femto is in the reserve for your Femto armaments. Your Femto armaments will be able to recharge by 1/3 of their capacity for each full section of your Femto gauge. In order to regain Femto, stand in a Femto zone. Alternatively, small amounts of Femto will be dropped by some enemies. In addition to this, you will also regain Femto over time. Now that Femto is everyone's favorite word, let's get into some basic combat tips. Your arsenal can carry up to 6 weapons with you into a mission. 1 in each hand, another set stored on your pylons, 1 shoulder-mounted weapon, and 1 piece of auxiliary equipment. However, keep in mind that weapons have weight, which affects your mobility. If you need more mobility for a mission, you can always opt to leave some weapons behind. The best way to make the bullets go into the bad guys is to lock on. In order to lock onto an enemy, all you have to do is hold the enemy inside your targeting circle while within range. As soon as you see the red cube, you're good to engage. Just below the red cube, you'll see some essential combat data, such as the enemy's name, health, and the distance between you. When equipped with a weapon with multi-lock capability, such as the missile launcher, you will see a larger white number ticking up slowly on all enemies displayed within your targeting circle. Now that we've locked on, let's focus on getting into optimal damage range. Each weapon has an optimal damage range, inside of which damage will be at its peak, and outside of which damage will progressively drop off. For example, the Trickster pistol has a very short or close optimal damage range. Once inside this range, however, its damage goes up tremendously. You can find each weapon's optimal range on its stats page. Additionally, the color of your floating damage text will indicate whether your attack is effective, normal, or ineffective by displaying as red, white, or gray, respectively. When attacking with a melee weapon, such as the Buster Doom Sword, you will first execute a dash toward your target, and then you will attack. The distance of this initial dash can be increased with weapon mods. When dual-wielding swords, you can perform an X-slash by attacking with both at the same time. However, the initial dash on the attack will be reduced. Melee weapons like the sword have another special consideration. If you and an enemy attack one another at the same time with melee weapons, you will enter a clash. In order to win this clash, you will need to mash the button displayed on your screen. When using a shield, pressing the fire button will toggle between the raised and lowered states. When the shield is raised, you will have a cone of protection in front of you that will prevent damage. However, keep in mind that you will still be vulnerable from the sides and the back. Here we can see some bullet knockback in action, which leads us to our next topic. Here we'll briefly touch on a few points regarding equipment and stats. Note the total memory usage value at the top. Memory is the limiting resource regarding what you can and cannot equip. While browsing your weapons, you can press Y to change the information display. The Arsenal Evaluation page is the simplest at-a-glance display of changes made by equipping a certain piece of equipment. This is useful for people who just want to slap something on and get right back to the action. The next page displays stats and the related changes that pertain to your arsenal itself. The weapon stats page will allow you to directly compare the selected weapon stats with the one that you're currently holding. Lastly, the enhancements page will display a list of all enhancements attached to that piece of equipment. While we're on the weapons page, we'll go ahead and point out that weapons can have variants with letter designations such as F, L, and S. As an example, here I own the H05 Trickster as well as its F and L variants. You can see the differences in these variants in the weapon stats panel. When it comes to armor, everything is the same except with slightly different stats. While we're dealing with armor, we'll touch briefly on durability. On the left side of my HUD, you can see the icons for my armor's durability. If you notice, my left arm is almost broken. When that happens, I will no longer be able to use the left arm, but I will be able to replace it with one from a fallen enemy if I can find one. Now let's jump over to the factory so we can talk about development and mods. In order to develop an item, you must simply meet the required criteria and then complete a mission in order for it to be delivered to you. Some items will require you to defeat a tough boss multiple times. Managing your enhancements is easy. Simply select the piece of gear you would like to modify and either install or uninstall the desired mod, paying a nominal fee for the process. Up until now, we've been focusing on the arsenal. It's time we took a look at your pilot, the outer. By pressing X while on the ground, you will be able to exit your arsenal. Once ejected, you're able to shoot using a drone. The outer does deceptively good damage with both regular and charged shots available to him. In addition to this, you can also place traps, repair your arsenal, and throw grenades by default. Your outer can be enhanced in the lab to receive cybernetic augmentations which will enhance both his individual and his arsenal's ability. For example, the outer can gain a blade through surgery, and by proxy will also gain blade skill in his arsenal. Don't neglect to learn to use the outer, as it has saved me a couple of times now. My second time tackling the Snatcher by myself, I was able to defeat him even though he disabled my arsenal using a well-placed grenade. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, ice cream. By visiting the ice cream parlor, you can get a temporary stat boost for the next mission. From decreased landing recovery time, to decrease reload speed, to a double jump for your outer, there are different perks you can get for mixing and matching different scoops of ice cream. Each time you visit the ice cream parlor between missions, the selection of flavors for Scoop 1 and 2 are completely randomized. The right combination of the perfect cone, which will give a 1% bonus, a delicious primary flavor, and a complementary secondary flavor can have amazing effects. Part of the fun of this kind of game is figuring things out for yourself. So at this point, I've actually elected to not release any of the combinations for the ice cream parlor. If you're completely desperate, there are a number of spreadsheets out there that you can Google that have all the data. Alright guys, that about does it for my beginner's guide to Daemon X Machina. My ultimate goal here is to ease the learning curve for you guys so that way you can fully enjoy the game when it launches in a couple days and you won't have to dig through all the systems quite so deeply just to have a good time. Obviously, I couldn't cover everything in this video, but there are some things you should also just experience for yourself. Thank you so much for watching my first guide. If you learned something, please hit the like button and tell me what it is in the comments below. Also, if you would like to leave something for a new player, you can comment there as well. Especially, please hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot. I'm going to have even more guides coming your way, both for this game and for some others. I've got some VR content lined up. I've got all kinds of things in the works right now, including some original content, some series, some throwbacks. So really, hit that subscribe button. You won't regret it. I'm going to be making some cool content. Let's see if we can hit 100 subscribers by the end of the month. How does that sound? Help me out, guys. Let's do it. Thank you very much, and I hope y'all have a great day.